mentioned working with all the sites, and so early on there was a lot of learning, right? All the different things that affect UX that also affect monetization. So maybe share with us some of the UX elements that we've learned over time affect things like monetization, but not just that, but user experience as well.
Yeah, and we've kind of outlined a few of them here. So navigation is a massive, has a huge amount of effect on whether users are finding a site easy or hard to use. So, for example, the little menu on mobile, the little hamburger symbol, is it better to show that, or is it better to show the word menu? And then where is the menu, where is the search bar, these background, is the background white, is it sort of like a black background?
People love a black background with white text, right, generally?
Not really, no. not from what we found. These are generalities. If you had a goth site, maybe, that might. And then really kind of looking at ad density as well, how many ads are being shown, not only on the first page of a user session, but all the way through the session. And last but certainly not least is obviously page speed. How you get a certain amount of time when a user is coming to a site for them to then stick around or leave. So that's a huge thing. This is just all pretty self-evident, to be honest, but a lot of people are not thinking about it when they're thinking about ads.
So when we start talking about device, geolocation, landing page, if I really want to measure UX for all these different elements together, John, what is the most objective way possible to look at this metric?
The most objective way is to go on the data. So we all have the ability to measure on a per page basis bounce rate, page views per visit, and the session duration, time on site. And then we can then look at it under the microscope of a landing page or a country or a device. But really, I mean, it's not a level playing field straight out of the box in analytics. We were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah, so this idea, so a lot of people in this room may not know this, John, so it's probably good to share it because if you just install analytics and you don't modify the way that you're measuring bounce rate, there's probably something that you don't know about the way that bounce rate is looking at whenever someone comes from a search, lands on a page, and then they maybe spend 25 minutes reading a long-form article. If they just hit the back button and go back to search from there, Google will record that as
a bounce.
As a bounce and 0 time on site.
So that's how analytics is set up out of the box, and you have to change that. And the reason for that is because it's not firing. If you go to another page within the site from that first page, it will fire another analytics tag, and then you've got your time on site. If people are just coming to that one page and then going back, and it's really well documented online. People should go and check it out. If you haven't done that, it's definitely something you should do, because of course it's giving you a skewed impression of which pages have high bounce rates and which don't.
So looking at all these things together, this is one of the best objective ways to really measure progress as it relates to user experience.
Yeah, I mean, there are other ways that you could sort of have that, heat mapping and, the camera sitting next to the person.
Actually using the website.
Videoing people using your site. These, as far as I can see, I mean, they could probably help in some respects, but they're not as easy to quantify.
Somewhat objective data, but you still have to make some subjective decisions about how you would use it. So when we talk about subjective data versus objective data, one of the things that we've learned over time that I always find these really interesting, it's this idea of being able to test and kind of measure things like layouts and themes and how they affect both UX and monetization. So in this case, John, I think we have a pretty neat example.
Yeah, so this is Discover the Best Fondue, bestfondue.com. And this is the same content in 2 different layouts, just for ease of showing it to you on desktop. And we have a system that tests different, you're going to find out about it later today, but it actually tests themes. So I guess I should ask you guys, which out of A or B do you think has better user experience metrics?
If you think, no, not better user experience metrics, people are going to know we're trying to set them up. Which one do you think looks more appealing? Raise your hand if you think A looks more appealing.
Okay, that's almost everybody in the room.
I would say that subjectively, my opinion, and I think most people's opinion, is that A looks better than B. What's interesting to learn is that B actually has a higher page views per visit, higher average time on site, a lower bounce rate, and the ePMV was approximately 20% higher. So
interesting.
It's one of the big reasons why we think it's really important to not always rely on subjective data. In many cases, the people in this room, subjective data isn't always bad because you're successful because you've relied on your opinions, your ideas about things. But when it comes to making decisions about monetization, user experience, it's really important to have this information so that you know if you're moving in the right direction or not.
Yeah.